Hey, I want to welcome you guys back to another episode of the AWM NFL Podcast. My name is Riccardo Stewart, and I'm your host. And as always, I am joined with my friends and my coworkers, Zach Miller, Jeff Locke, and Sam Acho. You know, the last couple episodes, or 2 episodes ago, we began having this conversation of having a human-centered approach. And what we meant by that is essentially when it comes to building your financial plan, you know, that these NFL athletes, you have a life that you've envisioned for yourself, and then you usually hire a financial advisor. We would say you need to hire a family office so that you can have yourself at the center, so that every plan that is made, every decision that is talked about, every idea that is had centers around who you are, your family, and the life that you want for yourself. And so we talked about that, starting first with what are your priorities? What are those needs? And what are those wants? And what are those wishes? And then today, looking at, okay, if I have a human-centered approach when it comes to building my portfolio or my financial plan, we'll use the word financial structure, what is different between being with the normal FA or being with a robust family office? And so I'm fortunate because I get a chance to lead this conversation, and I'm joined with my friends who are 20 years plus NFL experience, as well as the financial expertise. And so I'm going to start first with this idea of an architect. All right. I got a friend. His name's Jack. He's an architect here in Phoenix. He designs buildings and homes and so forth. And years ago, he gave me a book to read regarding his profession. I cannot remember the title of the book, but there was a quote that stood out to me. And the author says this, that an architect or anybody who's trying to achieve perfection knows that the job is complete, not when he can't add anything else, but he knows that the job is complete when he can't take anything else away. And the point there is, whatever you need is what you want, and that's what you get. When it comes to these FAs and these brokers, there's a whole lot of just junk that is put into your portfolio, oftentimes that benefits them, that does not have you in mind. It has a caricature of you as opposed to your story. So what does it look like to be a part of a family office when you build this financial structure? Jeff, let me start with you. You're good as a professor at breaking down some of the things we talk about. I use the phrase financial structure. For our listeners, that might be the first time that they've heard of that. Like, what do we mean when we use that word?
Yeah, I like the architect analogy you started, and I'm going to extend it to just like a custom home build. Not everyone's gone through that, but it's a process to build a custom home from scratch. So your financial structure would really be the blueprints and the game plan to get that home in place. It takes a lot of work. You've got the architect and you've got the main person called the general contractor. He's the one calling all the shots, telling everyone else what to do to get that home built. So when we think about financial structure, that's what we think about. Building the blueprint as the architect, going back and forth with the client on what they actually want. A lot of times clients don't know what they want until they see it in that first blueprint. Then you keep adjusting, and adjust from there. As you mentioned, as a family office, we can build custom homes. Zach's going to get into how some other FAs don't have that ability here in a second.
Yeah. Okay, let me shift to Zach. I know the area of Phoenix that Zach grew up in. It's an area called Ahwatukee. It's technically not a city. The city is Phoenix, but they're so good, they call themselves Ahwatukee. And there's a lot of tract homes that are built there. So Zach, you probably know what it's like to grow up in a tract home. And so let me ask you, in your first, experience of working with an FA, a financial advisor, did you have a financial structure? And was it even anywhere close to what we're talking about as a family office?
No, I had a model home. So exactly what I grew up in was that kind of one size fits all and, do it for scale. And that's the opposite of what I bought once I signed my long-term deal and wanted to buy a house in Paradise Valley. I bought a custom home, and that's what I should have had in the finance world. That's what I should have had with a family office. And what I got was my advisor, broker at Merrill Lynch, basically putting together a portfolio and ignoring the financial structure, ignoring cash flow, ignoring a guaranteed contract with the Seahawks, ignoring all those things of future cash flow, which you have to take into account because you end up getting things wrong. And so those generic investments, they make sense for for most people. And then I would even argue that like, if you're going to just do a portfolio and ignore the financial structure, you'd be better off just going to Vanguard and paying as cheap as possible. But if you actually want to add wealth through other ways, which a family office does, and that includes taxes, estate planning, insurance, private investments, like that's where you make the most amount of money. And so if I went back and looked at my deal when I signed with the Seahawks, all of a sudden I should have had a custom home. I should have had financial structure evaluated. And in my particular case, I wasn't a big spender. I was pretty cheap as a player. So I didn't have a ton of cash outflows. So I shouldn't have had as many bonds as I did. And so why that hurts players is because all those years I was in bonds with future guaranteed money, fully guaranteed money, that money could have grown faster. So if that money would have been growing faster, you just can go back and do the math. And it's an opportunity cost, or what I would have been able to grow my money to, of conservatively more than $10 million by just being misallocated. So if you get it wrong when you're setting up your financial structure and you just think about the investments, you just think about what do I want to buy? What asset do I want to buy? And you ignore it from a high level, it can cost you money. And I see it all the time with players. It keeps happening over and over and over.
We have this metaphor, and I hate to mix metaphors, but I'm looking at Sam Acho right now. It looks like he just got off of an ESPN show or something. I mean, the suit's looking good. I mean, you gotta in some ways feel like when it comes to custom is what we're talking about, that it's not just a one size fit all. And so a human-centered approach when it comes to building your financial structure means something a little different when it comes to a family office. I'd love to kind of hear your points on that, Sam.
Yeah, a human-centered approach when it comes to a family office is somewhat like getting a custom tailored suit. I remember when I first got in the NFL, one of my older teammates was like, "Hey man, we need to get you a suit." And so I was like, "I'll just take whatever suit I can get." So I don't know if we went to Dillard's or some store and just got a suit. And I was just happy to be in the league and to have a suit, right? That my teammate wanted me to have on road games, or maybe even travel to the stadium at home games. But after a couple years in the NFL, I started seeing some other of my teammates around me that weren't necessarily wearing just regular suits from the store, but they were wearing custom suits that had been tailored to their body, every part of their body measured, right? Not only custom suits, custom jeans, I've seen even people with custom boots. And it's like this idea of, hey, when you get a chance to try on this custom fit, you'll never want to go back. Now, I remember when I was first in the NFL, I was like, hey, man, I can't afford that custom fit. So I'm just going to stick with the general, hey, whatever, what have you. But then after a few years, I got a chance actually to go to Italy and meet with this master tailor who'd been tailor for his entire life, 80-something years old, didn't speak a lick of English, but he made me a custom suit. And I haven't taken it off since. I mean, once I tried that on, I was like, man, I got to get more. But the thing is, like, that's what I deserved. That's what I'd been able to earn from being an NFL athlete and achieving the level of success I've been able to achieve. Now, that's just me. Think about where you're at in your career, what you've been able to achieve. Do you deserve off the rack, like regular, like, hey, I'll just go to Dillard's and pick up this jacket? Or would it be better to have a custom fit? What that means, like what that looks like specifically, even when it comes to giving. I know there's a good friend of mine who played a bunch of years in NFL, still playing right now. And there are some times where he was homeless. And so he spends a lot of his Christmas time giving back to homeless people. He spends a lot of his time doing Christmas drives. And so this idea of, hey, what if I'm just write a check to this organization? Or you could actually donate appreciated stock. You could actually give 20% more. Let's say there were 1,000 families you're helping. You could help 200 more families just by this human-centered approach of people knowing what you care about, what you're doing currently, and adjusting some of your decisions in that same way. And so there's even more, so we can go to the investment piece of it. But that custom fit, once you try it, you're not going to want to go back.
So if I'm sitting and I'm an NFL athlete, I got 40, 50, 60 million. Clearly, I'm in a different category. And when you get to a different category, Zach alluded to it earlier. I mean, he just said, hey, I got a custom home in Paradise Valley. For those who don't know, that's one of the more lucrative places to live in Phoenix. Sam just talked about a tailored suit. He talked about Dillard's here in Scottsdale Mall. Then he talked about some dude that's in Italy. Okay, when it comes to these NFL players, Jeff, what does a financial structure, or what could a financial structure look like for someone who's made 60, 80, 90 million in their career?
Yeah, a couple of examples we see from guys who are talking about that jump from kind of that rookie deal to the never work again deal, right? Is literally you can build your custom home, right? You can start thinking about, I'm paying for education for my kids and all their kids and all their kids' kids, right? Sam talked about it. Maybe it is time to pull the trigger on the private foundation, right? I'm going to hook up my community, set them up for years at a time, right? These are the wishes during your first contract that now become wants that you can actually afford because all of your needs are already taken care of, right? So as Zach talked about though, other places are going to just try to stick all these things you want to do back into the same model home, or they might build you another home, but it's going to be the same exact model home, right? And they got to try to make what you want fit within the homes that they can build, and that's it. Whereas we're going to look at what you can do with your new net worth and your new assets and say, hey, are we building a whole nother custom home? Are we adding wings to your current home? Right? All to try and get your goals achieved in the most tax efficient way possible that makes the most sense for you and your family, not what necessarily makes the most sense for us.
So I started this episode with talking about my buddy Jack, the architect. One of the things he does whenever he builds a home and whenever he builds a building, he goes to the owners, those who are going to build the building. He goes to the company that's going to build the office or the building, and he has them tell them the story of their family or the story of the company. Because once he hears the story of who they are, where they've been, where they are, and where they're going, it begins to give them a picture of what that particular vision of that building could look like. At a family office, when you're at the center as the human, as the family, we listen to your story. That's when we begin to discern your needs, your wants, and your wishes, and then begin to build the custom financial plan that you and your family need, not just now, but also in the future. Listen, if you want to learn more about what is this financial structure, what is a family office, and why don't athletes even hear more and more about that, we would love to be able to give you some resources and answer your questions. You can feel free to call us, or you can send us a text at 602-989-5022.
This has been a production of AWM Capital, the Athlete Family Office. Reach out to the team at athletefamilyoffice.com or by calling or texting 602-989-5022. All opinions expressed by the hosts are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of AWM Capital. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon in any manner as professional advice or an endorsement of any practices, products, or services. There can be no guarantees or assurances that the views expressed here will be applicable to any particular facts or circumstances and should not be relied upon in any manner. You should consult your own advisors as to legal, business, tax, and other related matters concerning any investment. Clients and employees of AWM Capital may maintain positions in the securities or companies discussed in this podcast.